While this was happening far away in Etruria, Juno, daughter of Saturn, sent Iris down from the sky to bold Turnus, who chanced at that moment to be sitting in a grove sacred to his ancestor Pilumnus. These were the words that came to him from the rosy lips of Iris, daughter of Taumas. There, Turnus, time in its ever-rolling course has brought you unasked what none of the gods would have dared to promise you if you had prayed for it. Aeneas has left his city, his allies, and his fleet, and gone to visit the royal seat of Evander on the Palatine. And as though that were not enough, he has travelled as far as the remotest cities of Corythus, and is arming a band of Lydians, some country people he has collected. What are you waiting for? This is the moment to call for your horses and chariots. Do not allow any delay. Make a surprise attack on their camp and seize it. At these words she soared into the sky on poised wings, cutting in her flight a great rainbow under the clouds. The warrior knew her, and raising his hands palms upward to the sky, he called out to her as she flew, "Iris, glory of the sky, who has sent you here to me, riding the clouds down to earth? Why this sudden brightness in the air? I see the heights of heaven parting, and stars wandering through the vault of the sky. I follow this great sign, whoever you are that call me to arms." When he had spoken these words, he walked to the river's edge and scooped up in his hands the water from its surface, as he offered up prayer upon prayer to the gods and burdened heaven with his vows. The whole army was soon moving across the open plain, rich in its horses, rich in embroidered apparel, rich in gold. The vanguard was controlled by Messapus, the rear by the sons of Tyrrhus, while Turnus, the chief commander, was in the middle of the column. It was like the Ganges fed by the steady flow of its 7 rivers and silently rising, or like the fertile waters of the Nile when it withdraws from the plains and settles back at last into its own channel. The Trojans saw this distant cloud of black dust suddenly gathering, and the darkness rising on the plain. Caicus was on the rampart on that side, and he was the first to raise the alarm. "What is that ball of dark dust rolling along the plain? Fetch your weapons, fellow citizens, and fetch them now. Give out missiles, mount the walls. The enemy is upon us. To your posts." With a great clamour the Trojans streamed in by all the gates to man the walls. For these were the orders they had received from Aeneas, the greatest of warriors, as he left them. If anything should happen in his absence, they were not to dare take up position for a pitched battle or trust themselves to the plain, but only to stay on the ramparts and defend the camp and the walls. So, though shame and anger urged them to join battle, they nevertheless obeyed orders and closed the gates against the enemy, waiting for them in full armour inside their towers. By this time Turnus had taken wing and gone on ahead of the slow-moving column. With 20 picked horsemen, he arrived at the city before he was expected, riding a piebald Thracian charger and wearing his gold helmet shaded by red plumes. "Is there a man among you, my friends, will come with me and be first upon the enemy?" "There," he cried, and sent his javelin spinning into the air as a signal for battle. Then, rising in the saddle, he charged across the plain. His comrades took up the cry and followed him with blood-curdling shouts. They were amazed at the faint-heartedness of the Trojans. Why did they not commit themselves to a fair fight on the level plain? They were men. Why did they huddle in their camp and not meet arms with arms? Turnus, in a fury, prowled round the walls, this way and that, searching for an approach where there was none, like a wolf in the dead of night, lying in wait in all the wind and rain by a pen full of sheep, and growling at the gaps in the fence, Will the lambs keep up their bleating, safe beneath their mothers? Beside himself with anger, he storms and rages, but cannot reach them. He is worn out by the ravening hunger he has been so long in gathering, and many a day has passed since blood wet his throat. So did the Rutulian blaze with anger as he surveyed the walls of the Trojan camp, and the pain burned him to the bone. How could he try to come at them? What device could shake out the Trojans shut up there behind their rampart and spill them onto the plain? Ah, the fleet! There it was, moored in a sheltered position along the side of the camp, protected by the water of the river, and to the landward by ramparts. There he made his attack. Burning with fury himself, he demanded fire from his exultant comrades and took up a great blazing pine torch in his hand. At this they all bent to the task, with Turnus there to urge them on. They plundered what fires they could find, and their reeking torches smouldered with a pitchy light as Vulcan whirled to the stars dense clouds of smoke that shot through with sparks. Tell me, Muses, what god turned these fierce flames away from the Trojans and drove such fire from their ships? The tale was told in times long past, but the fame of it will live forever. When Aeneas was first building his fleet on Mount Ida in Phrygia and preparing to take to the high seas, Berecytian Cybele herself, the mother of the gods, is said to have addressed these words to great Jupiter. O my son, grant my prayer. Now that Olympus is subdued, grant what your dear mother asks of you. On top of my citadel I had a wood of pine trees, which I had loved for many years, a dark grove of black pine and maple, where men would bring their offerings. These trees I gladly gave to the Trojan warrior when he needed a fleet. But now my heart is seized by anxiety and dread. Put all my fears at rest and answer your mother's prayer. Grant that my ships should not be wrecked on any of their voyages or overwhelmed by any squall of wind. Let it stand to their favour that they were born on our mountains. Her son, who turns the stars of heaven in their courses, made this reply to his mother. What is this you are calling on the fates to do? What do these words of yours mean? Are ships made by mortal hands to have immortal rights? Is Aeneas to face all his doubts and dangers and never know uncertainty? Is there any god to whom such a privilege has been granted? No. But when the ships have done their duty, when in due course they reach the end of their voyaging and are safe in the harbour in Ausonia, each one to survive the sea and reach the Laurentine fields with the Trojan leader, will lose its mortal shape. I shall order all of them to become goddesses of the great ocean, like Galatea and Dotto, daughters of Nereus, whose breasts cleave the foam of the waves of the sea. Jupiter had spoken, ratifying his words by the waters of the Styx, his brother's river, by the banks and dark whirlpools of that pitch-black torrent, and at his nod the whole of Olympus shook. And so the promised day had come, and the fates had completed the allotted time, when the violent attack of Turnus warned the mother goddess to defend her sacred ships from these burning brands. A strange light now shone before men's eyes, and a great cloud seemed to come across the sky from the east, bearing with it votaries of the goddess from Mount Ida. A fearsome voice then fell from the air and filled the ears of Trojans and Rutulians in their armed ranks. Do not trouble, Trojans, to defend my ships. Do not take your weapons in your hands. Turnus will burn the sea dry before he can burn these sacred pine trees. Go then, you are freed. Go, you goddesses of the sea, the mother of the gods commands. In an instant, every ship burst the ropes that moored it to the bank, and they plunged like dolphins, beak first to the bottom. When they returned to the surface, they were miraculously changed, each one a nymph swimming in the sea. The Rutulians were astonished. Messapus himself was afraid, and his horses reared. Even Tiber checked his flow with a harsh roaring of his waters as he called back his current from the sea. But the boldness and confidence of Turnus never wavered. Without hesitation, he set about haranguing his men and whipping up their spirits. These portents strike at the Trojans. They mean that Jupiter has taken from them the help they had become accustomed to. The ships did not wait to taste Rutulian fire and sword. So now the seas are barred to the Trojans, and they have no hope of escape. By this they have lost one half of the world, and the land is already in our hands. So many thousands of men are marching under arms from all races of Italy. This Phrygian talk of destiny and the oracles of the gods does not dismay me. Destiny and Venus was satisfied the moment Trojans set foot on the fertile fields of Italy. I too have a destiny of a different sort, to cut down with the sword this vicious people that has robbed me of my bride. The sons of Atreus are not the only ones who have suffered, and the people of Mycenae are not the only men who can take up arms. Let them not imagine it is enough to have been destroyed once. It should have been enough for them to sin once. They had no need to show loathing and contempt for every woman in the world. Look at them now, all courage and confidence because of this rampart that keeps us from them, and these ditches they have dug to hold us back. This is no sort of barrier to stand between them and death. Did they not see the walls of Troy settling into the flames? And those were fashioned by the hands of Neptune. You are my chosen few. Which one of you is ready to cut through their rampart with the sword and rush into that camp of cowards? To fight Trojans, I do not need the armour Vulcan made for Achilles. I do not need 1,000 ships. Not if every man in Etruria went and joined them as allies this instant. Nor do they need to be frightened of the dark. We shall not be creeping up on them like cowards to kill the guards all over their citadel and steal their palladium. We shall not be hiding in the blind belly of a horse. Oh, is he criticizing Odysseus and all of them? It certainly sounds like he is. Our plan is to come in daylight, in full view, and gird their walls with fire. I shall soon make sure they realize it is not Greeks they have to deal with, or the army of Pelasgians Hector held off into a 10th year. But the best part of the day is already spent. For what remains of it, you can now rest yourselves. You have done well. Be of good cheer, in high hopes that we can bring them to battle. Meanwhile, Messapus was given the task of blockading the gates with a night guard and ringing the walls with watchfires. 14 Rutulians were chosen to keep watch on the walls, each commanding 100 men with purple crests on their helmets and gleaming with gold. They dispersed, some going to their various duties, others lying out on the grass, enjoying their wine and tipping up the bronze mixing bowls. The watchfires burned, and the guards kept awake by gaming the night away. The Trojans looked out on all this from the top of their rampart, and kept armed guards on all the high points while anxiously checking the gates, building bridges to their outlying fortlets, and bringing up missiles. Menestheus and the zealous Serestus never relaxed their vigilance. They were the men Father Aeneas had appointed to take over the command of the troops and the government of the people should adversity require it. The whole legion was on alert along the walls. Lots had been cast for posts of danger, and each man was taking his turn to stand guard. Nisus, son of Hyrtacus, was keeper of a gate. This formidable warrior, swift to throw the spear or send the arrow flying, had been sent by Ida, the hunter's mountain, to be the comrade of Aeneas, and with him came his own comrade, Euryalus, a boy with the first signs of manhood on cheeks as yet unshaven. There was no lovelier youth among the people of Aeneas, and no lovelier youth ever put on Trojan armour. They were one in love, and side by side they used to charge into battle. So now too they were sharing guard duty on the gate, when Nisus said to Euryalus, "Is it the gods who put this ardour into our minds, or does every man's irresistible desire become his god? My mind is not content to rest in peace and quiet, but has long been driving me to rush into battle or into some great enterprise. You see the Rutulians there, with just a few scattered lights piercing the darkness? How sure they are of everything, lying sunk in sleep and wine, and silence everywhere. Just listen to what I am thinking, and to the plan beginning to form in my mind. The people and the fathers, they are all clamouring for Aeneas to be summoned, and messengers sent to tell him exactly what is happening. If they promise to give you what I ask, all I want is credit for the deed. I think I can find a way round the foot of that hill to the city of Pallanteum." Euryalus was overcome, pierced to the heart with a great love of glory, and in an instant he replied to these words to his ardent friend. "So you do not want me as your comrade on this great expedition, and I am to let you go alone into dangers like this? This is not how I was brought up by my father Opheltes during the Greek terror and our sufferings at Troy, and he knew all about war. Nor is this how I have conducted myself with you, in following to the end the fates of great-hearted Aeneas. I have here a heart that despises the light, that would gladly spend life to buy the honour you are striving for." To this Nisus replied, "So may great Jupiter, or whatever god looks with favour on this undertaking, bring me back to you in triumph. I swear I never had any such fears about you. That would have been a sin. But if some chance or god were to lead me into disaster, and you know how many things can happen in dangerous affairs like this, I would wish you to go on living. You are young, and your claim on life is greater than mine. There would then be someone to consign my body to the earth if it is rescued from the battlefield, or recovered by ransom. Or if some fortune forbids that, and we know her ways, to make offerings for me here, and honour me with an empty tomb. Besides, let me not be the cause of such heartbreak to your mother, who of all the mothers of Troy is the only one who has dared to follow her son here, with never a thought for the walls of great Acestes." "One feeble argument after another," replied Euryalus, "and all to no purpose. My mind is made up, and you have done nothing to change it. Let us go, and quickly." So saying, he woke sentries to take over and keep guard for Nisus and himself. They left their post and marched off side by side to look for Prince Ascanius. Over the whole world, the creatures of the earth were relaxed in sleep, all resting from their cares, and their hearts had forgotten their labours. But the chosen warriors, who were great leaders of the Trojans, were holding a council on matters of the highest importance to the kingdom. What were they to do now? Who would go as a messenger to Aeneas? As they stood there on the level ground in the middle of the camp, leaning on their long spears and carrying their shields, Nisus and Euryalus suddenly arrived in great haste and asked to be admitted, saying that their business was urgent and well worth listening to. Seeing their excitement, Euryalus was the first to welcome them and invited Nisus to speak. These were the words of the son of Hyrtacus. Give us a fair hearing, sons of Aeneas. Do not judge what is said by the age of the speakers. The Rutulians have fallen quiet, deep in their drunken sleep, and we have seen a place for an ambush, some open ground where the two roads meet by the gate nearest the sea. There the ring of watchfires is broken, and the smoke is rising black to the stars. If you allow us to take this opportunity to go and look for Aeneas and the city of Palantium, you will soon see us coming back laden with booty and much slaughter done. We have no doubts about the way to go. We always hunt there and have seen the first houses of the city in the dark valleys. We have explored the whole river. It was Aletes, heavy with years and mature in judgment, who now replied, O gods of our fathers, in whose divine hands Troy still remains, in spite of it all, it is not your will utterly to destroy the Trojans, if you have put such firmness in the mind and heart of our young warriors. And as he spoke, he clasped the right hands of both of them and laid his hands on their shoulders, while the tears ran down his cheeks and face. Can any recompense be found for you? He cried. Can anything match the glorious deeds you propose? The first and richest reward will come from the gods and from your own virtue, but the others will soon follow from a grateful Aeneas, and young Ascanius, for the rest of his life, will never forget such a service. More than that, interposed Ascanius, my whole life hangs upon the return of my father, and I call upon you both to witness, by the great Penates and La of Assaracus, and the shrine of white-haired Vesta, I now place all my fortunes and all my hopes for the future in your hands, Nisus. Call back my father. Bring him back to my sight. If he is restored, there can be no cause for grief. I shall give you 2 solid silver embossed cups, which he took at the fall of Arisba, and with them a pair of tripods, 2 great talents of gold, and an ancient mixing bowl given him by Dido of Sidon. But if he succeeds in taking Italy and winning the crown, while he is presiding over the distribution of booty in this hour of victory, you have seen the horse that Turnus rides. You have seen him all golden in his armour. I shall exclude from the lot that horse, the shield, and the scarlet plumes, and these will be now yours, Nisus, as a reward. In addition, my father will give you 12 chosen matrons and 12 prisoners of war, each with his armour, and all the lands on the plain now held by King Latinus. But as for you, Euryalus, although you are a boy and not so far ahead of myself in the race of life, I revere you and take you wholly into my heart, embracing you as my comrade. Whatever may lie before us, whatever I may do, I shall look for no glory that is not shared with you. In war or in peace, whatever I say or do, my whole trust will be placed in you. To this Euryalus replied, The day shall never come when I shall be found unequal to acts of courage like this, if only the fall of fortune is in our favour tonight and not against us. But one thing I ask of you, more precious than any gifts. I grieve for my mother of the ancient line of Priam. The land of Troy could not hold her when she came away with me, nor did the walls of King Acestes. As I now leave her, she knows nothing of the danger I am entering upon, whether it be great or small, and I have taken no farewell of her, because I swear it by the night and your own right hand. I could not bear to see my mother weep. But comfort her in her helplessness, I beg you, and support her in her desolation. Let me take with me the hope that you will do this, and I shall go on all the more boldly into whatever dangers lie before me. The Trojans were overcome and wept, the fair Euryalus most of all, as this image of his love for his own father touched his heart, and he replied, You can be certain that everything I do will be worthy of your great enterprise. Your mother will be my mother in everything but the name Creusa. The woman who gave birth to such a son will receive no ordinary gratitude. I have promised you rewards when you return in triumph, whatever the outcome of your bravery. I swear by this head of mine, by which my father used to swear, that these same promises will hold good for your mother and your kin." So he spoke, weeping, and in that moment he took from his shoulder a gilded sword that Lycaon of Cnossus had fashioned with consummate art and fitted in an ivory scabbard to hang perfectly at his side, while Mnestheus gave Nisus a rough hide stripped from a lion, and trusty Aletes changed helmets with him. As soon as they were armed, they marched off, and all the leading Trojans, young and old, escorted them to the gates with their prayers. Foremost among them was the fair Euryalus, bearing, beyond his years, a man's load of cares and a man's spirit. He gave them many commissions to bear to his father, but they were all futile. The wind scattered them among the clouds. They moved off and crossed the ditch, making their way under cover of night to the camp that would be their death, but not before they had brought death to many others. They could see men sprawling in drunken sleep all over the grass, and chariots standing along the river bank with their poles in the air, and a tangle of men's bodies and armour and wine vessels among the reins and wheels. Nisus was the first to speak. "Now, Euryalus," he said, "my right hand must show its mettle. The hour calls for it. Our road goes this way. You keep guard to the rear in case a party of men creeps up on us from behind, and look well into the distance. I shall make havoc here and clear a broad path for you." So he spoke, and then had done with words. With sword drawn, he made for proud Rhamnus, who happened to be propped up there on a deep pile of rugs, his whole chest heaving as he slept. A king he was, and a prophet cherished by a king, by Turnus. But not all his prophesying could drive from him the plague of death. Nisus then caught 3 of Rhamnus's attendants lying in a heap among their weapons, then the armour-bearer of Remus, and his charioteer among the hooves of the horses. Their heads were lolling. He cut them off. Next he removed the head of their master Remus, and left the blood gurgling out of his trunk and warming the ground as the black gore soaked through the bedding. Lamyrus also he slew, and Lamus and young Serranus, a handsome youth who had gambled late into the night. There he lay overcome by all the wine of Bacchus he had drunk. He would have been happy if he could have made his gambling last the night and kept it up till the daylight. Nisus was like a lion driven mad with hunger and ravening through pens full of sheep, dumb with fear, while he growls from jaws dripping with blood as he mauls and champs their soft flesh. Meanwhile, there was no less slaughter from the hand of Euryalus. He too was in a blazing frenzy as he crept up on a great crowd of nameless warriors lying unconscious in his path. Phaedus and Herbaeus, Rotus and Abaris. Rotus was awake and saw it all, so hid in a panic behind a great mixing bowl. But when Euryalus came near him, he rose, and Euryalus plunged his sword to the hilt in his chest. When he withdrew it, the whole life of Rotus flooded out after it. As he lay there dying, still vomiting his crimson life's breath, and bringing up wine and gore together, Euryalus was already prowling on, hot for blood. He was soon making for Messapus and his comrades, where he saw the dying embers of the watchfires and the horses tethered in good order cropping the grass, when Nisus had a few words to say to him, for he noticed that Euryalus was being carried away by bloodlust and greed. "Let us make an end," he said. "Daylight is no friend of ours, and it will soon be here. Our enemies have taken enough punishment, and we have cut our path through the middle of them. They left behind them many pieces of men's armour wrought in solid silver, and mixing bowls besides, and lovely rugs. But Euryalus took Rhamnus's medallions and his gold-studded belt. Long ago the wealthy Caedicus had sent them from his home as gifts to Remulus of Tibur to form a guest friendship with him. When Remulus was dying, he gave them to his grandson, and after his death they passed on to the Rutulians as spoils of war. Euryalus now snatched them up and put them round his brave shoulders, but little good they were to do him. He also put on the helmet of Messapus with its gorgeous plumes, and they left the camp and made for safety. At this moment, while the rest of the Latin army was waiting in battle order on the plain, a detachment of cavalry had been sent out from their city and was now on its way with dispatches to Turnus, 300 of them, all carrying shields under the command of Vulcans. They were approaching the camp and coming up to its ramparts when they saw Nisus and Euryalus in the distance, veering off along the road to the left. Euryalus had forgotten about the helmet, and its glittering betrayed him, reflecting the rays of the moon in the dim shadows of the night. The enemy saw and did not fail to act. "Halt there, you men!" shouted Vulcans from the head of his column. "Why are you on the road? Who are you? Why are you armed? Where are you going?" They offered no reply, but ran off into the trees, putting their trust in the darkness of the night. The horsemen spread out along each side of the wood they knew so well, blocking the tracks that led in and putting guards on every approach. It was a rough wood full of dense undergrowth and dark ilex trees, all of it choked with thick brambles, and the path glimmered only here and there among the faint tracks left by animals. Euryalus was held back by the darkness under the trees and by the weight of his booty, and in his fright he lost his way. But Nisus escaped. Without knowing it, he had come through the enemy and the area later to be known as Alban, taking its name from the city of Alba. But in those days, King Latinus had high fenced enclosures there for his cattle. He now stopped and looked back for his friend, but could not see him. "Poor Euryalus," he cried, "where have I left you? Where can I look for you?" And even as he spoke, he was beginning to go back over his path through the wood with all its deceptive twists and turns, retracing every remembered step as he wandered through the silent undergrowth. He heard horses, he heard the noise of pursuers and their signals, and in no time shouts reached his ears, and he saw Euryalus. Lost in the treacherous darkness of the wood, and confused by the sudden tumult, he had been caught by a whole enemy troop, and was now being carried off, still struggling desperately against all the odds. What was Nisus to do? How could he rescue his young friend? How should he attack? What weapons should he use? Should he throw himself into the thick of their swords and rush through wound upon wound to a glorious death? In that instant he drew back his arm, and, brandishing his throwing spear, he looked up to the moon in heaven and prayed in these words: "O goddess, daughter of Latona, glory of the stars and guardian of the groves, be with me now and help me in my hour of trouble. If ever my father Hirticus has offered gifts for me at your altars, if ever I myself have enriched them with the spoils of my hunting, hanging my offerings in the dome of your temple, or nailing them on your holy gables, guide my weapons through the air, and grant that I may throw this troop of my enemies into confusion." When he had spoken, he hurled his spear with the whole force of his body. Parting the shadows of the night, it flew towards Sulmo, whose back was turned, and there it struck and broke, sending a splinter through his diaphragm. He rolled over, vomiting a stream of warm blood from his chest in the chill of death, and heaving his flanks in deep-drawn agonies. While the enemy were looking around in all directions, there was Nisus, emboldened by his success, with another shaft ready by his ear, poised to aim. They were still in tumult when the spear came whistling and caught Tagus in the middle of the forehead. Jesus, why? It went through the brain and struck... No. It went through the brain and stuck there. No. See, that just caught me off. It went through the brain and stuck there, growing warm. Vulcan's was wild with rage, but nowhere could he see the thrower, and he could not decide where to direct the fury of his assault. "Never mind," he shouted. "For the moment you and your warm blood will pay me for both of them." And he drew his sword and rushed at Euryalus. This was too much for Nisus. Out of his mind with terror and unable to endure his anguish, he broke cover, shouting at the top of his voice, "Here I am! Here I am! I am the one who did it. Aim your weapons at me, you Rutulians. The whole scheme was mine. He is innocent. He could not have done it. I swear by this sky above me and the stars who know the truth, his only offence is to have loved the wrong friend too much." He was still speaking as the sword was driven through the ribs of Euryalus, full force, shattering his white breast. He rolled on the ground in death. The blood flowed over his beautiful body. His neck grew limp, and the head drooped on his shoulders, like a scarlet flower languishing and dying when its stem has been cut by the plough, or like poppies bowing their heads when the rain burdens them and their necks grow weary. But Nisus rushed into the thick of the enemy, looking only for Vulcan's. Vulcan's was the only thought in his mind. The Rutulians gathered round their leader, and in close fighting threw Nisus back again and again as he came at them from one side after another. But he bore on nonetheless, whirling a sword like lightning till he met the Rutulian face to face, and buried it in his mouth as he opened it to shout, "This is brutal." So, in the moment of his own dying, he cut off the breath of his enemy. Then, pierced through and through, he hurled himself on the dead body of his friend, and rested there at last in the peace of death. Fortune has favoured you both. If there is any power in my poetry, the day will never come when time will erase you from the memory of man, while the house of Aeneas remains by the immovable rock of the Capitol, and the father of the Romans still keeps his empire. The victorious Rutulians had collected their booty and their spoils, and carried the body of Vulcan's to their camp, weeping as they went. There was no less sorrow waiting for them there, when they found Rhamnus dead, and with him Serenus and Numa, and all their other leaders who had been killed in that one night of slaughter. A great crowd gathered round the dead and dying heroes, and the ground was running with rivers of newly shed blood, still warm and foaming. Between them they recognized the spoils, the shining helmet of Messapus, and the medallions which had cost so much sweat to recover. By now Aurora was just leaving the saffron bed of Tithonus and sprinkling her new light upon the world. The sun was soon streaming over the earth, and soon all things stood revealed in its light. Turnus, in full armour himself, was rousing his men to arms, and each of the leaders was taking his own troop into battle in ranks of bronze, whipping up their anger with different accounts of the night's work. They even stuck the heads of Euryalus and Nisus on spears. What a sight that was! And paraded along behind them shouting. Aeneas's men, long enduring, drew up in battle order to face them on the walls on their left flank. The right was guarded by the river, and they manned their great ditches and stood on their high towers, stricken with grief and shocked by the sight of the heads of comrades they knew so well, impaled on spears and dripping black gore. Meanwhile, rumour flew, with the news on her swift wings, through the whole terrified city of the Trojans, and came gliding into the ears of the mother of Euryalus. In that instant, the warmth left her very bones. The shuttle was dashed from her fingers, and its thread unwound. Crazed with grief, she rushed out, and wailing as women do and tearing their hair, she made for the front ranks of the army on the walls, with no thought for the presence of men, with no thought of the danger of flying weapons. She stood there on the ramparts and filled heaven with her cries of mourning. "Is this you I am looking at, Euryalus? How could you leave me alone so cruelly, you who were the last comfort of my old age? Could not your poor mother have been allowed a few last words with you before you went on that dangerous expedition? So now you lie in a strange land, and your body is food for the dogs and the birds of Latium. I am your mother, and did not walk before you at your funeral, nor close your eyes, nor wash your wounds, nor cover you with the robe I have been weaving for you day and night, with what speed I could, finding in my looms and solace for the cares of age. Where am I to go to look for you, my son? What piece of earth holds your mutilated body and dismembered limbs? Is this head all you bring back? Is that what I have followed over land and sea? Strike me, you Rutulians, if you have any human feelings. Throw all your spears at me. Let me be the first to die. Or will you take pity on me, great father of the gods, and blast my detested body into Tartarus with your lightning, since I can find no other way to end this bitter life?" Sorrow like this was too much for the Trojans to bear. The sound of mourning was heard all through the army. Their strength was broken. They were losing their appetite for battle, and her presence was fanning the flames of their grief. At a word from Aeneas and the bitterly weeping Euryalus, Aeneas and Actor came and took her between them back into her house. The ringing bronze of the trumpet gave out its shrill and terrible note from close at hand. The shouting rose, and the heavens bellowed in reply. The Volsci all at once rushed the walls with their shields locked in tortoise formation, and tried to fill in the ditches and tear down the rampart. Some were looking for a point of access and putting up scaling ladders where the line of defenders was strung out along the walls, and light could be seen in the breaks between them. From their side, the Trojans showered down missiles of every kind and pushed the ladders off with stout poles. In their long war, they had learned how to defend walls, and they rolled great heavy rocks down on the enemy to try and break their armoured formations. But in their close-packed tortoise, they cheerfully endured whatever fell on them. It's very windy outside, if you can hear that in the recording. There's not a lot I can do about it. There is a storm, and I've got nowhere in the home that will muffle the noise. But they still did not succeed, for where a solid mass of Rutulians was threatening the walls, the Trojans rolled along a huge block of stone and sent it crashing down on them to loosen their interlocking shields and cut a great swath through them. After this, the bold Rutulians no longer cared to fight blind under cover of their shields, but strove to clear the defenders off the ramparts with a barrage of missiles. At another section of the wall, Mezentius was brandishing a torch of Etruscan pine and a fearful sight he was as he came at them with fire and smoke. Messapus, son of Neptune, and tamer of horses, was cutting a way through the rampart and shouting for scaling ladders. I pray to you, Calliope, and to your sister Muses, to breathe upon me as I sing of the death and destruction wrought by the sword of Turnus, and to tell who sent down to Orcus each warrior that died. Unroll with me now the mighty scroll of war. Is this going to be a list of names that I'm going to trip over? There was a tower well placed and of commanding height, with high connecting bridges. The Latins were trying to take it by main force, striving with all their powers to bring it down, while the Trojans packed inside trying to defend it by throwing rocks and sending a hail of weapons through the loopholes. Turnus, who was leading the attack, hurled a blazing torch, which set fire to the side of the tower. Fanned by the wind, the flames took hold of the planking and ate into the upright posts. Inside all was confusion, terror, and desperate attempts to escape the heat, as everyone crowded together to take refuge on the side away from the flames. All at once the whole sky seemed to thunder, and the tower toppled over with the weight, and men plunged to the ground in their death throes, with the massive fabric following them down, impaling them on their own weapons and driving the broken timbers through their breasts. Only Helenor and Lycus were able to escape. Helenor was a young man, son of the king of Maeonia and the slave girl Lycemnia, who had reared him in secret and sent him to Troy under arms, although this had been forbidden. His equipment was light, a sword with no scabbard, and an inglorious shield of plain white, and he found himself caught in the middle of 1,000 men who fought with Turnus, looking at the battle lines of the Latins drawn up on all sides of him. Like a wild beast trapped in a dense ring of hunters, it rages against the steel, and with full understanding it hurls itself to its death by springing onto the hunting spears. Just so did young Helenor leap into the middle of his enemies, rushing to his death, where he saw the steel was thickest. But Lycus was far fleeter of foot. He ran the gauntlet of the enemy and their weapons as far as the wall. There, as he was trying to take hold of the top of the outworks and reach the outstretched hands of his comrades, Turnus, who had been pursuing him with his javelin, came to gloat over him. "You fool! Did you think you could escape my hands?" And even as he shouted, he seized hold of him where he hung and tore him down, taking a great section of the wall with him. Like the eagle, the armour-bearer of Jupiter, seizing in his hooked talons a hare or the white body of a swan and soaring into the air with it, or like the wolf of Mars, tearing a lamb out of the sheep pen, and loud and long will it be the bleating of its mother as she looks for it. The shouting rose on every side. The attackers levelled the rampart, filled in the ditch, and tossed blazing torches high onto the roofs. Lucetius, who was coming to set fire to a gate, was laid low by a rock thrown by Ilioneus, a huge block torn out of a mountain. Liger felled Emantheon with a javelin. Acillus brought down Corineus with an arrow he never saw in all its long flight. Caeneus slew Ortygius. Turnus slew the victorious Caeneus. Turnus also slew Itys and Clonius, Dioxippus and Promolus, then Sagaris and Idas, who was standing out in front of the highest towers. Privenus was killed by Capys. Themillus, had first grazed him with a light spear, and the fool had thrown his shield away to put his hand to the wound. So the winged arrow flew. Plunging deep into his left side, it broke the passages of his life's breath with a mortal wound. The son of Archons stood there in gorgeous armour, resplendent in his embroidered cloak and Spanish purple, a noble sight to see. He had been sent to war by his father, who had reared him in his mother's grove on the banks of the river Cymathus, where the people of Sicily made their offerings at the rich altar of the mild god Palicius. Mezentius laid down his spears. Then, whirling his sling 3 times round his head, he shot the hissing bolt and struck the son of Archons full in the middle of the forehead. Melting in its flight, the lead bullet split his skull and stretched him full length on the sand. It was then, men say, that Ascanius first shot in war the swift arrow which till this time had only driven wild animals to terror and flight, and his was the hand that laid the brave Numanus low. This was a warrior whose family name was Remulus, and not long before he had been joined in marriage to the younger sister of Turnus. His heart was swollen with pride at the royal rank he had newly acquired, and he stepped out in front of the battle line, swaggering and shouting abuse, some fit and some unfit to be repeated. "You have been sacked twice already, you Phrygians. Are you not ashamed to be cooped up again in a siege behind ramparts, with only a wall between yourselves and death? Are you the men who came here to fight us for our brides?" Actually, they didn't. "Is it some god that has driven you to Italy?" Yes. Or some madness? You will not find here the sons of Atreus, or the fictions and fine words of Ulysses. Oh my God, they all criticise that. Well, to be fair, it was quite underhanded. "We are men of hardy stock. We take our babies down to the river the moment they are born and harden them in the icy water. Our boys stay awake all night and weary the woods with their hunting. For games, they ride horses and stretch the bow to the arrow. Our men endured hard labour and lived spare, subduing the land with the mattock and shaking the towns of their enemies with war. We are worn hard by iron all our lives and turn our spears to goad our oxen. There is no sluggish old age for us to impair the strength and vigour of our minds. We crush our grey hair into the helmet, and our delight is always to bring home new plunder and live off what we take. But you like your clothes dyed with yellow saffron and the bright juice of the purple fish. Your delight is in dancing and idleness. You have sleeves on your tunics and ribbons to keep your bonnets on. You are Phrygian women, not Phrygian men. Away with you over the heights of Mount Dindymus, where you can hear your favourite tunes on the double pipe. The tambourines are calling you, and the boxwood fifes of the Berecytian mother of Mount Ida. Leave weapons to the men. Make way for the iron of our swords." Well, he sounds delightful. So he hurled his abuse and threats, till Ascanius could endure it no longer. Turning to face him, he drew his bow and stretched the horse-gut string. And as he stood there, with his arms straining wide apart, he prayed first to Jupiter with this vow: "All-powerful Jupiter, bless now this my first trial of arms, and with my own hands I shall bring yearly offerings to your temple, and set before your altar a milk-white bullock with gilded horns, holding its head as high as its mother's, already butting with its horns and kicking up the sand with its hooves. The father heard, and thundering on the left from a clear sky, and the sound of the death-dealing bow of Ascanius mingled with the sound of the thunder. The arrow had been drawn back, and it flew with a fearful hiss straight through the head of Remulus, its iron point piercing his hollow temples. "Go, Remulus," he cried, "and mock brave men with more proud words. This is the reply to the Rutulians from the twice-sacked Phrygians." Ascanius said no more than this, but the Trojans followed it with a shout of joy, their spirits raised to the skies. At that moment Apollo, the youthful god, whose hair is never cut, chanced to be seated on a cloud, looking down from the expanse of heaven on the armies and cities of Italy, and he addressed these words to the victorious Euryalus. "You have become a man, young Euryalus, and we salute you. This is the way that leads to the stars. You are born of the gods and will live to be the father of gods. Justice demands that all the wars that fate will bring will come to an end under the offspring of Assaracus. Troy is not large enough for you." At these words he plunged down from the heights of heaven, parting the breathing winds, and made for Ascanius, taking on the features of old Butes. Butes had once been armour-bearer to the Dardan Anchises, and the trusted guard of his door, and Aeneas had then appointed him as companion to his son Ascanius. This was the guise in which Apollo came. The old man Butes to the life, voice colouring, white hair, weapons grimly clanking, and these were the words he spoke to Euryalus in the flush of his victory. "Let that be enough, son of Aeneas. Numanus has fallen to your arms, and you are unhurt. Great Apollo has granted you this first taste of glory, and does not grudge you arrows as sure as his own. You must ask for no more, my boy, in this war." So began Apollo, but while speaking he left the sight of men fading from their eyes into the insubstantial air. The Trojan leaders recognized the god. They knew his divine arrows and the quiver that sounded as he flew. So, although Ascanius was thirsting for battle, they held him back, urging upon him the words of Phoebus Apollo and the will of the god. But they themselves went back into battle and put their lives into naked danger. The shouting rang round the ramparts all along the walls. They bent their deadly bows and twisted their spear thongs, till the ground was strewn with missiles. Shield and round helmet rang with the blows as fiercer and fiercer raged the battle. It was like a great shower from the west drumming on the earth in the rainy season when the kids are rising, or like hailstones dropping from the clouds into the sea when the south wind is blowing and Jupiter hurls down squalls of rain in his fury and bursts the hollow thunderclouds in the sky. Pandarus and Bitias, sons of Alcanor of Mount Ida, had been brought up by the wood nymph Aera in the grove of Jupiter, and they were built like the pines and mountains of their fatherland. So sure they were of their weapons that they now flung open the gate that had been entrusted to them by their leader's commands, and took it upon themselves to invite the enemy to come within the walls. That's dumb. They themselves stood inside at the ready, like twin towers, one on the right and one on the left, armed in steel, with their crests flashing high on their heads. They were like a pair of tall oaks by a flowing river, on the banks of the Po, or the lovely Adige. Oh, balls. On the banks of the Po, or by the lovely Adige. holding their unshorn heads up to the sky with their high tops nodding in the breeze. As soon as they saw the gate open, the Rutulians came bursting in, Quercens and Aquiculus. Oh my god, how do you pronounce that? Quercens and Aquiculus. Aquiculus? Oh my god. Quercens and Aquiculus, in splendid armour, impetuous Tmarus and Haemon, son of Mars, but instantly, with all their men, they either turned and ran or gave up their lives on the very threshold of the gate. The fury mounted in all their hearts as they fought. Trojans now came crowding to the spot, and not only joined in the fray, but also dared to sally out further and further in front of the gate. Meanwhile, Turnus, the Rutulian commander, was raging and storming and creating havoc in another part of the field, when a message arrived to say that the enemy were hot with the Rutulian blood they were now spilling, and that open gates were on offer. Turnus instantly abandoned the work he had in hand and rushed to the Trojan gate in a savage rage to meet these arrogant brothers. The first man to fall to his javelin was Antiphates, for he was the first to confront him. Antiphates was the bastard son of great Sarpedon by a Theban mother. The spear of the Italian cornel wood flew through the unresisting air and went in by his belly and twisted upwards deep into his chest. A wave of frothing blood welled out of the black hole of the wound, and the steel grew warm where it had lodged in the lung. Then Euryalus and Meropes fell to his hand. Then Aphidnus, then Bitias himself, for all the fire that flashed from his eyes and the roaring fury of his heart. No javelin for him. He was not the man to yield his life to a javelin. It was an artillery spear with an iron head a cubit long and a ball of lead at its butt, which came rifling through the air with a loud hiss and the force of a thunderbolt. The two bull hides of his shield did not resist it, nor did his trusty breastplate, with its overlapping scales of gold. His huge body collapsed and fell. The earth groaned, and the mighty shield thundered as it came down on top of him. It was like the fall of a stone pile by the shore of Euboean. Well, that's just vowels. By the shore at Euboean Baiae. You know what? I don't know. Euboean Baiae. Men first build it to its massive height, and then they let it down into the sea, and it spreads ruin all along its length, grinding the seabed as it settles in the shallows. The water boils, the black sand rises, the high rock of Procida is shaken, or is it Procida? I don't know. And Inarime with it, the hard bed laid for Typhoeus. The hard bed laid for Typhoeus at Jupiter's command. Now Mars, mighty in war, put new spirit and strength into the Latins, and twisted a sharp goad into their flesh, while sending flight and black fear upon the Trojans. Now that their chance had come to fight, the Latins gathered from all sides, and the god of war stormed their hearts. When Pandarus saw his brother stretched out in death, and knew how his fortune stood and the turn events were taking, he put his broad shoulder to the gate with all his force and heaved it shut on its hinges, leaving many of his own people cut off outside the walls for the hard battle to fight, but taking in those who came running and shutting them in with himself. Fool that he was! He did not see the Rutulian king bursting into the city in the middle of the press. By his own act he penned him in like a great tiger among helpless cattle. In that instant a new light shone from the eyes of Turnus. He clashed his armour with a fearsome noise. The blood-red crest trembled on his head. His shield flashed lightning. Suddenly Aeneas's men recognized him, the hated face, the huge body, and were thrown into confusion. But the giant Pandarus leapt forward to confront him, turning with anger at the death of his brother. "This is not your bridal chamber in the palace of Amata," he shouted. "Turnus is not safe in the middle of Ardea, behind his father's walls. This is the camp of your enemies, and there is no way out." Turnus replied, smiling calmly, "If there is any courage in you, then come and fight. You will soon be able to tell Priam that here too you found an Achilles." Arrogant? At these words Pandarus took a spear of rough knotted wood with its bark unplaned and hurled it with all his force. As it flew to wound Turnus, the winds caught it. Juno deflected it, and it lodged in the gate. "You will not escape this weapon of mine," called out Turnus, "which I brandish here in my right hand. This sword is wielded by a different arm, and gives a deeper wound." With these words he lifted it above his head, rising with it, and struck Pandarus between the temples. Ouch! The blade went straight through the middle of the forehead and parted the smooth young cheeks. The wound was hideous. He fell with a crash, and the ground shook with the weight of him. As he lay dying, he strewed around his nerveless That is the word, nerveless. As he lay dying, he strewed around his nerveless limbs and armour blooded with brains. Oh! And the two halves of his head hung on his two shoulders. Oh, that is grim. The Trojans turned and ran in terror. If at that moment the victor had thought of breaking the bolts and letting his comrades in through the gates, that would have been the end of the war, and the end of the Trojan race. But instead his mad lust for blood drove him upon his enemies in an ecstasy of passion. First he caught Phalaris and Gyges, slitting his hamstrings. Ouch! Then he took their spears, and with Juno lending him strength and spirit, he hurled them into the backs of the retreating enemy. Next he sent Halys to keep them company, and Phegeus, the spear passing through his shield. Then Alcander, Halius, Noemon, and Prytanis, who were on the walls in the thick of battle and did not know he was inside. Now Lynceus was coming at him and calling on his comrades for help. Turnus, from the rampart on his right, stopped him short with one flashing stroke of his sword, a blow from close range that severed the head and sent it flying far from the body, helmet and all. Next he brought down Amycus, that mighty hunter and slayer of wild beasts, no man better to charge the spear point with poison or smear the tip of the arrow. Then Clytius, son of Aeolus, and Cretheus, that dear companion of the Muses, Cretheus, a great lover of song and of the lyre, a great setter of poems to the strings, always singing of horses and armour and the battle of heroes. At last the Trojan leaders, Menestheus and bold Serestus, hearing the slaughter of their men, came on the scene to find their allies scattering and the enemy within the walls. "Where are you running to now, citizens?" cried Menestheus. "Where is there to go? What other walls have you? What other defences when you leave these? Can one man, and one man hemmed in on every side by your ramparts, cause all this slaughter and send so many of your best fighting men to their deaths all over your city and still live? Have you no spirit? Have you no shame? No thought for your fatherland in its anguish, for your ancient gods, and for great Aeneas?" These words fired them. They rallied and held fast in close formation, while Turnus gradually began to disengage, making for the river, and the part of the camp in the bend of the river. Seeing this, the Trojans laid on all the harder, shouting at the top of their voices and crowding him like a pack of huntsmen with levelled spears pressing hard on a savage lion. The lion is afraid and gives ground, but he is still dangerous, still glaring at his attackers. His anger and his courage forbid him to turn tail, and though he would dearly love to, he cannot charge through the wall of steel and the press of men. Just so did Turnus give ground, uncertain but unhurried, and his mind was boiling with rage. Twice he even hurled himself into the middle of his enemies, breaking their ranks and sending them flying along the walls. But a whole army came together in a rush against him from the camp, and Juno, daughter of Saturn, did not dare to renew his strength to withstand them, for Jupiter sent Iris down from the sky, bearing stern commands through the air for his sister Juno if Turnus did not withdraw from the high walls of the Trojans. So sword arm and shield were of no avail. The warrior could no longer stand his ground in the hail of weapons that overwhelmed him from every side. The helmet rang and rang again on his hollow temples, and the solid bronze was cracked by rocks. The plumes were torn from his head, and the boss of his shield gave way under the blows. The Trojans doubled their barrage, and the spear of Menestheus was like the lightning. Sweat poured off the whole body of Turnus like a river of pitch, and he was given no breathing space. His lungs were heaving. He was shaking and sick with weariness. Then, and only then, he dived head first into the river in full armour. The Tiber took him when he came into his yellow tide, bore him up under his soft waves, washing away the blood of slaughter, and gave him back in high heart to his comrades.